The dying light. Fletcher arrived at the towering manor just as a thick mist crept over the Highland hills, shrouding the house in an eerie quiet. The air was heavy with the scent of mildew and decay, as if the manor itself held secrets long past and had grown weary of them. In the cold, dim parlour, the lifeless body of Lady Meredith lay stretched across an antique settee, her eyes fixed on an extinguished lantern. Fletcher noted how her face bore an expression of shock, her delicate hands curled, as if reaching toward some unseen horror in her final moments. The lantern beside her appeared ordinary at first glance, but its intricate carvings hinted at hidden significance, something darkly symbolic. Rowan, the housekeeper, stood silently nearby, her face devoid of expression, hands folded tightly as if to contain her own secrets. Fletcher felt her gaze on him, sharp and knowing, as though she understood far more about the household's twisted history than she let on. Every corner of the manor seemed to breathe with a foreboding presence, shadows twisting along the walls, deepening the house's grim atmosphere. Fletcher could almost feel the weight of the family's legacy, like an oppressive force pressing down, suffocating any attempt to uncover the truth. Upstairs, he found Isabel, a distant cousin of the deceased, who stood near a window, her gaze vacant, lost in thoughts unknown to him. She offered little in the way of condolences, her demeanor as chilly as the Highland fog that pressed against the window panes. Fletcher watched her carefully, sensing that her detachment was not mere grief but something darker, perhaps fear, or guilt. Lady Meredith's personal study was filled with dusty tomes and old ledgers, each covered in strange symbols he could not decipher. Fletcher noticed a small, locked chest on the desk, its exterior scratched, as though someone had tried desperately to pry it open. The chest's lock was rusted but intact, its secrets firmly enclosed, yet something about it felt unsettlingly familiar to Fletcher. As he exited the study, Fletcher heard a faint creak, the sound of floorboards shifting under unseen weight, echoing down the hallway. He followed the sound to a narrow passage, hidden behind a tapestry, the entrance barely visible in the dim light filtering through. Inside, a spiral staircase wound downwards, each step groaning under his weight, the air thickening with a strange, metallic smell. The staircase led him to a damp cellar, where he saw crates and barrels marked with smudged symbols, as if hinting at illicit contents. Fletcher's mind raced, recalling tales of Highland smugglers who operated under the cover of noble respectability centuries ago. He began to wonder if Lady Meredith's family might have harbored secrets far more sinister than mere whispers of scandal. Back in the parlor, Rowan moved to relight the lantern, her hands trembling slightly, betraying a vulnerability Fletcher hadn't seen. He watched her carefully, noting how her eyes flickered towards the doorway, as if fearing someone might enter at any moment. Fletcher realized the lantern might hold more than just symbolic significance, it could be a signal or message within the family. Why would Lady Meredith stare at an extinguished lantern? He asked Rowan, who merely shook her head, avoiding his eyes. Fletcher pressed further, his suspicion growing as he watched her falter, a crack forming in her otherwise stoic expression. He sensed that she knew far more about the lantern and its purpose, perhaps even understanding its role in Meredith's death. Rowan eventually admitted the lantern had always been used as a signal, though she claimed ignorance of its deeper implications. Her vague response only intensified Fletcher's curiosity, leading him to believe the family had used it as part of an illegal operation. Isabel interrupted their conversation, her voice sharp, accusing Rowan of hiding the truth, her words laced with barely concealed rage. Fletcher observed their exchange, noting how Rowan's face remained calm, while Isabel's eyes burned with a suppressed fire. Fletcher sensed that Isabel's anger stemmed from something personal, perhaps tied to her own mysterious connection with the victim. The air between them crackled with tension, as though both held secrets that neither dared reveal in the other's presence. Fletcher's investigation led him to discover a hidden ledger in the library, recording names, locations, and strange symbols. The ledger hinted at a smuggling ring, implicating various family members who had participated over the generations. He wondered if Lady Meredith had uncovered the operation, perhaps even threatening to expose it, leading to her untimely death. Rowan admitted that the lantern would signal arrivals or danger, casting suspicion on every family member who knew its purpose. Isabel's pale face revealed her own understanding of the lantern's use, though she denied any involvement in Meredith's death. Fletcher began to suspect that the entire household was complicit in the smuggling, though each person held different motives. A chilling realization dawned on him: one among them must have betrayed Lady Meredith, silencing her before she could act. Late that night, Fletcher heard footsteps outside his door, soft and deliberate, as if someone wished to avoid detection. He crept to the door and opened it quickly, only to find Rowan standing there, her eyes filled with an uncharacteristic fear. Rowan whispered, "Someone in this house has been betraying the family's operation," and Meredith discovered who it was. Fletcher felt a cold dread settle over him as he realized he was no longer just investigating a murder but uncovering a deadly web. Rowan revealed that Meredith had found proof in the ledger, a name connected to a rival ring that had cost the family dearly. Fletcher understood now that Meredith had been killed to protect this secret, but he wondered who among them would risk it all. Rowan told him Isabel had been especially agitated in recent weeks, often wandering the halls at odd hours, muttering to herself. Fletcher confronted Isabel, who admitted to knowing about the betrayal but denied involvement in her cousin's murder. "I was the one who tipped her off," Isabel whispered, her voice trembling. "I wanted her to see what they'd done to our family." She confessed that Meredith had trusted the wrong person in the household, which had led to her death. The lantern, once a beacon of warning, had become Meredith's silent witness in her final moments as she stared at it in horror. Fletcher pieced together that Meredith's death was a warning to any who would challenge the family's dark operation. He gathered everyone in the grand hall, revealing the truth about the lantern, the smuggling, and the betrayal within. Rowan's face remained impassive as Fletcher accused her of orchestrating the murder to protect the family's illicit business. But Isabel's voice rang out, revealing that Rowan's silence had been coerced by threats to her own life, silencing her for years. Rowan finally confessed, explaining that she had been forced to comply with Meredith's killers to protect herself and others. The manor's shadows seemed to lift, as though centuries of secrets had been dragged into the light, leaving the household exposed. Fletcher left the manor with a heavy heart, knowing justice was done but feeling the dark history of the place would linger forever. As he departed, the extinguished lantern remained on the parlor table, a silent reminder of the deadly secrets that lay hidden within.